The Black Night falls from the sky. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your hearts and your demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise. Now, if you're familiar with that oath, you definitely know what we're talking about today. So what is going on, all you nerdy folk out there? My name is Jack, and you've probably guessed it already, but today we're going to be talking about some of the strongest members of the Black Lantern Corps. Now, if you're not familiar with the Black Lanterns, let me, try and catch you up to speed. Known as the Army of Nekron, the Black Lanterns are the slain and deceased beings from throughout the universe who fell into the domain of dead, and this includes past heroes and villains, and during the Blackest Night storyline, we see them wreak havoc on the living. Now, with that info in mind, let's get into today's list. Number 10, Superboy Prime. This is a bit of an interesting one as he didn't have the Black Lantern ring for very long, but I wanted to include him on the list because I thought what he did with it was so interesting. Still obsessed with trying to keep up with the events in the other worlds, Superboy Prime eventually reaches the end of an issue in a comic book that addresses his own fate. Freaking out, he demands to be taken to the comic book store to look for the next issue. However, the Legion is watching him and Alexander Luthor Jr. surprises him by showing up as a Black Lantern. Taking the battle from his hometown to Manhattan where, funnily enough, he actually crashed through the DC Comics studio saying that if he died, he would take the writers with him. We see Prime fighting, knowing he's gonna lose. In a last-ditch effort attempt to win, he actually catches a Black Lantern ring, puts it on, and this is where it gets interesting, guys. Instead of turning him into a Black Lantern, the ring actually cycles through the emotional spectrum as his emotions were so strong. Goes from green for willpower due to his deluded demand for respect, to indigo for compassion for regretting what he did to Lori, orange for avarice for wanting everyone to love him, yellow for fear of those he once admired, and finally, red for rage for hating himself for what he had become, thus transforming him into a Red Lantern. Fueled by his rage, he attacks Luthor until his love for Lori is his strongest emotion and he becomes a Star Sapphire. After the battle, Prime passes out from emotional exhaustion and the ring shatters. Pretty cool, right? Number 9, Alexander Luthor Jr. Yes, this is the same Alex Luthor that I just mentioned while talking about Superboy Prime, and I'm giving him his own spot on this list because I feel his side of the story and what he did deserves to be talked about. During the Blackest Night, we see Alex revived as a Black Lantern and he travels to the reformed Earth Prime. Confronting the now powerless Superboy Prime, he began an all-out attack on him accompanied by some reanimated foes Superboy had killed, such as Element Lad and Bushido, just to make sure he had the upper hand. Giving Superboy a mental beatdown alongside a physical one, taunting him for all his past mistakes, the biggest being what he did to Lori Lemon. Before he was actually able to kill him though, Superboy grabs that ring I mentioned earlier and kills Alex and the reanimated foes. Guess it turns out he didn't have quite the upper hand that he thought. Interested in seeing what led these two to this point? Well, check it all out starting with 1985's Crisis on Infinite Earth number 1. Number 8, Solomon Grundy. Somehow, even from millions of miles away, Cyrus Gold, aka Solomon Grundy, is resurrected once again in Slaughter Swamp. However, this time around he has this strange new level of awareness. Remembering his past as Solomon Grundy and terrified of becoming him once again, we see him kill a woman who offers him help and he eventually gets shot down by the police, which in turn turns him back into Solomon Grundy, which is the last thing he wanted. After fleeing to the sewers and a fight with Killer Croc, he enlists the help of the Green Lantern to find his killer so he can forgive him and pass on to the next world as everyone feels it's best to get rid of Solomon Grundy before a Black Lantern ring finds him first. Upon learning that his death was the result of a suicide, he goes slightly mad and can't forgive himself, which results in a Black Lantern ring finding him and commanding him to rise. With his already OP powers such as superhuman strength, removable limbs, and so much more, let's just say he wasn't that fun to deal with during the Blackest Night. Thankfully for him and everyone else, his corpse is destroyed after Bizarro drives it into the sun and he's finally able to move on to the next life. With such an interesting story over the decades, why not check out where it all started for him in History of the DC Universe number 1. Number 7, Martian Manhunter. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Martian Manhunter, the somewhat stoic voice of reason in the Justice League. Having first appeared in Justice League of America number 255 back in 1986, John Jones has helped take down some of DC's worst villains, one being his own twin brother. Thanks to his Martian physiology, the Martian Manhunter is capable of many incredible things including, but not limited to, telekinesis, telepathy, heat vision, regeneration, shapeshifting, and so much more. I could honestly just list his powers for hours, and that rhymed. I did not mean for that to rhyme. Nice. This makes him so scary as a Black Lantern because he is literally just Superman with a few more powers in his arsenal. By using just his telepathy alone, he could have moved the minds of the heroes into the bodies of the dead, leaving them completely useless, leaving nothing in the way for Nekron's reign of terror. Why he didn't do that? Makes no sense to me. Maybe it just doesn't make for good stories. I don't know. Either way, it should have done it. I don't know why they didn't. Number 6, Reverse Flash. Eobard Thawne, also known as Zoom, is the arch nemesis of Barry Allen and has done a great job of keeping the Scarlet Speedster on his toes. Having worshipped the Flash more than anybody, even going as far as to recreate the reaction that gave Barry his powers, and having an operation done so that he could look like Barry Allen, Thawne wanted nothing more than to meet and befriend his childhood hero. This, for obvious reasons, doesn't happen as he finds out that he is destined to become the Flash's greatest nemesis, and he ends up embracing that and goes down his dark path. During the Blackest Night storyline, we see Thawne resurrected by a Black Lantern ring, and he begins calling himself the Black Flash. Immediately seeking out the Flash, a battle ensues between the speedsters with Black Lantern versions of Kid Flash and Solovar by Zoom's side. During the final battle with Nekron, we see Thawne surrounded by a white light, claiming he is going home just before he disappears and dies for good. Interested in how he ended up this way? Well, check him out in his first appearance, The Flash number 139 from 1963. Number 5, Firestorm. Ronnie Raymond, originally known as the hero Firestorm, got revived as a Black Lantern and merged together with Jason Roos, the current Firestorm, to become a terrifying and powerful amalgamation of the two known as Deathstorm. With Jason's emotions going haywire over just watching his girlfriend get killed, the Black Lantern ring had so much emotional energy to work off of and that made Deathstorm all the more terrifying. Deathstorm's connection to the Firestorm Matrix allowed him to affect organic matter, which was a power used fairly early on when he turns Jason's girlfriend into salt right before his eyes. This ability, combined with the powers already possessed by Firestorm such as energy absorption and projection, flight, and let's not forget superhuman strength and durability, all makes him not someone you want to be in the same room with. Although, he doesn't stick around for too long, only appearing in Brightest Day number 10 to 22. He still has made a huge impact on the story, and that's why he's on this list today. Number 4, Spectre. Making his first appearance back in 1940's More Fun Comics number 52, the divine spirit of vengeance known as Spectre was pretty hard to deal with during the Blackest Night storyline. Prior to being resurrected, the Spectre permanently bonded with Crispus Allen, becoming the latest incarnation of the character. As a servant of God, the Spectre has basically unlimited power and is able to overcome almost anything in its way, second in power only to the Presence. With full control over reality, he is able to simulate any form of power or ability, and is also aware of everything that has or will happen because he has access to all the knowledge in the universe. Do you kind of understand what I mean when I say he wasn't easy to deal with? During the Blackest Night, we see Crispus Allen resurrected by a Black Lantern ring, and as a result, the Spectre himself was corrupted and lost control of his powers, becoming a force of evil. It took the combined efforts of different Lantern Corps and a parallax-infested Hal Jordan to save him from the Black Lantern influence. Number 3, William Hand. William Hand, aka Black Hand, was chosen to be the physical embodiment of death by Guardian Scar, and after killing himself and becoming reanimated, he becomes the leader of the Black Lantern Corps during Blackest Night. Although he doesn't really possess any powers other than the ones bestowed upon him, he is still a force of reckoning. Hand murders each member of his family before killing himself and receiving the Black Lantern ring, and with that ring, he is able to reanimate some of DC's most famous and powerful heroes such as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so many more. Alongside Nekron, Black Hand battles against the heroes of Earth and the Lantern Corps. Hand is eventually defeated by Hal Jordan and the White Lanterns after it's revealed that he is Nekron's link to the living plane. After he's brought back to life and Nekron is defeated, he's then taken to the Indigo Tribe, dazed and very confused, and they are set on helping him alter his worldviews. Highly recommend checking out his story for yourself, starting with his first appearance in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 29. Number 2, Swamp Thing. One of my favorite comic book characters out there, Alec Holland, better known as Swamp Thing, was not someone you want to mess with well before getting a Black Lantern ring. As the avatar of Green, Swamp Thing's body is composed of plant-based stem cells that are capable of forming any form of plant life imaginable, making him basically the DC equivalent of a druid of the land. With this ability, we've seen Swamp Thing take control of his surroundings to best fit his needs, so why does having a Black Lantern ring make him so terrifying? Well, put simply, imagine having to fight someone that had control of basically every living thing on Earth, and it's been brainwashed to believe that its only purpose in life is to end all of life. Well, that's what we see in the Brightest Day storyline, and that is why he is so high up on this list today. If you're curious about his origins, I highly recommend you check it out where it all began for him in 1972's Swamp Thing number 1 or Flashpoint Volume 2 number 5. Number 1, Nekron. The Lord of the Unliving and one of the most powerful beings in the universe, Nekron is a manifestation of death and the opposing force of all life itself. Before becoming the Lord of the Unliving, we're not entirely sure what or where Nekron was. Many assume that Nekron is darkness itself, existing before life entirely, and others say that he was actually created by the darkness to act as its protector. First appearing in the Tales of the Green Lantern Corps number 2 in 1981, Nekron's most terrifying moment was his triumphant return in Blackest Night, when he formed the Black Lantern Corps. Thanks to the power of the Black Power Rings and the Black Lantern Central Power Battery, Nekron was able to bring complete and utter devastation to the world during this time. With powers including his Fatal Touch, Dark Lightning, and Necrotic Empowerment, it's no surprise he is difficult to stop, especially considering he has an entire army of super zombies helping him out. The only thing that was actually able to take him down was Hal Jordan and the White Lanterns, who together overpowered Nekron by resurrecting Black Hand, which in turn severed his link with the living plane. With this link gone, his body was completely destroyed and the Blackest Night was over. Well, that'll be it for this video, guys. There are a ton more members of the Black Lantern Corps that we could talk about, so if you're interested, let us know in the comments below, maybe we'll do a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd to stay up to date on all things nerdy, and why not ring that notification bell so you know whenever we upload a video. As always, my name is Jack, thank you so much for watching, and stay nerdy, my friends. Thanks to his Martian physiology, I got my, whoo!